Alright, so I'm doing this video for the second time and now I'm way more irritated. Long story short, I got a ton of pictures from doing this deck. I took pictures all the way through so I could show you guys. I do all of my YouTube stuff on my phone, on my iPhone, and then I had to get a new phone, and come to find out in the middle of getting the new phone, my new phone doesn't have as much memory as my old phone did. So I was having to pick and choose what pictures and videos, excuse me, I needed to keep, absolutely had to keep. And apparently somewhere through all of that, I completely lost all of the pictures I had taken of this deck. And before then, I actually filmed this video, and that was on there too, and that also got lost. So here we are filming this for the second time, and I did print out pictures beforehand, which I used in the other video I filmed, and I'll put some pictures up of this, and I don't know how clear it'll come out if I can zoom in on some of these pictures and put it up on the screen. They obviously won't look good, but you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about. And then I did, since the first video was deleted and I'm having to refilm it, I did go out and take some pictures and a video clip or two of what it looks like now, just so you can see if these don't come out well at all. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about as we go through this. But I printed these out so I could go along with it and show you how I did everything. So here is take two on how I did this deck. Now obviously there was a deck on the back of the house before, and I wanted to add to it. We'll probably go over that in a later video on how to add to your deck, but this is just going to be talking about how I did the deck, or how you do a deck period. And this one also is a multi-level deck, which we'll probably go over that later in a video too, but we'll go over it a little bit here, just not too in detail because that'll be for a different video. So we're going to have a video on how I did the deck, and more specifically how to do a multi-level deck, and maybe a video on how to add a deck on another deck, which is what I did. So we'll probably split those up into different videos, but we're going to talk about everything in this video on how I did this deck. But obviously there was a deck here already, and as you can see in the video that's probably on the screen now, I've done a crap ton more work to this since I did the deck. And it's like a whole outdoor kitchen, grill, smoker, countertops. There might be a sink going in later, but there's not one there right now. But we're going to go over all of that in another video as well. So all the stuff you see here, you can drop your questions down in the comments. And if the video isn't up at the time that you're watching this, at some point there's going to be a video on every single thing I did to this. So if it's not up yet, stay tuned. I'm working on it. Lost a bunch of videos that I had filmed but hadn't gotten to editing yet, so they're all gone, so I'll have to refilm all of those, but there will be videos coming out on everything. Alright, so I figured out where I wanted to start from, which was actually on the ground for this purpose, specifically just because it's a multi-level deck and I wanted it to have a section at the bottom of the steps that are already there. That's why I did this. You don't have to do it this way. But at my starting point, I decided to put a block down, and that's how I started. There's no post right there. It's sitting on a block, on a level block. So I figured out where that needed to be and started with one side of the deck. Got that board where I wanted it. Oh, and I am using 2x8s for all of the floor joists in this deck too. I would recommend that you at least do 2x8. Some people do 2x8, 2x10, 2x12. Doesn't really matter what you use, just I wouldn't go any lower than a 2x8. When you go down to 2x6, you might have some conditions where, depending on how big your deck is or how much weight you're going to be putting on it, I probably wouldn't go down there. So at least do 2x8, that's what I used. But I got my starting point, got my first board up and level in place where I needed that to, and then did the one of the side boards, got that where I needed to, and then did the other side board. When I did the first board and the second board, in this instance, that actually got bolted to the posts that are already there on the deck. the other side, so this side was mounted on a deck, this side was mounted on the deck. This side over here is the next point, and then this side over here, both of these sides aren't mounted to anything on the deck, so this would be if like you're doing a regular freestanding deck away, not mounted to anything. So I had to, in this instance, get it up. I used blocks to figure out where it needed to be and to get it level, and then when I got it in place, I went ahead and nailed it onto the board over here, and then went ahead and cut a 4x4 on this side and got that level where I needed to, dug the hole and mounted it to that 4x4, and I also put a 4x4 over here also. And I didn't use concrete in any of this. What I did is I had a bunch of 8x16 4-inch thick concrete block, and on the first starting point over here I used a whole block, but everywhere else that there is a post, I actually took all of those blocks and I used a hammer and a chisel and cut them in half and started tapping all the way around on all four sides. Once I got it marked fairly well, went in the center and just whacked it a couple of times and it broke right in half. You don't have to do it that way. That's just how I did it. You can use concrete or some other block. But I dug a hole, got it where I needed to, had the half a block that I used on all the posts, dropped that down in the hole, made sure it was level, and then all of the posts were sitting down on that. And all of the corners of this entire deck, except for the starting point, have a post there. And then when I got down to the bottom part of the deck, which is the lowest point of the three little individual decks I did, the furthest ends this way, they are sitting on block just because of where it ended up so close to the ground. I didn't really feel the need to put a post there. So now I've gotten to the point where the top level deck has all of the four outside boards where it needs to be in place and everything, mounted to all the posts. Now I'm working on the other size deck. This size deck up here ended up being 7x12. The next level deck is the same exact size, 7x12, butted right up against it. So once I got those four outside boards where they needed to be and on posts, then I started on the next level, and what I did is I took another 2x8 and butted it right up under the 2x8 that's already there, so it'll give me that 2x8 step, which is actually 7 1/4, 7 1/2 actual inches. That'll be the step up. That's the case for the next level down also. So I got the four outside boards, put another board right under it, got that in place, and then worked off of that. Then I got this side over here board where I needed to get it, got the post in place, got that secure, and then went ahead and did the bottom section. Did the same thing. There was a board this way and put another 2x8 right under it, then worked off of that and got that all squared out and everything and secured, and then went back to the middle deck and then did those other two boards that were left. And so now we've gotten to this point. I've gotten the outside boards all done, and then I went ahead and pre-drilled holes and put lag screws in every board and every post all the way around. And some people might tell you to go ahead and use like carriage bolts to drill all the way through and put a nut on the back end. Some places you might be required to do that. I don't know. I've always just used lag screws like this. Using a carriage bolt nut would probably give it a little bit more strength, but I don't think it's really all that needed. But I mean, you can do either or. So we've got all the outside boards in place. All the posts are now in place with lag screws on them. Also, I did in the top level and second level, I went and dug a hole and put a block right in the middle there on the 2x8 and 2x8 right in the center, and put a post there as well, and put a lag screw on the bottom. I didn't on the top one there just because it would be visible and you'd be able to see it, so I just put it on the bottom part in the middle. So now we're moving on to the floor joists as well. I did 2x8s also. I measured all of the places that I wanted one. I was doing 2 foot centers. You can do 2 foot or 16 inches depending where you are, it might be required. Either way, I just use 2 feet just to kind of save money, because at the time of doing this, and still at the time of filming this, lumber prices are absolutely crazy. So I tried to cut a little bit of corners, save as much money as humanly possible without doing something stupid. So all of my floor joists are on 2-foot centers. Did all the floor joists on the top, got them in place and secure, then did it on the next level and then the next level. And then once I got to that point, I went ahead and put hangers on both sides of all of the floor joists throughout this whole entire project. And if you've never done anything like this before, or you didn't know, you can get hangers for pretty much any size board, 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, all the way up to 2x12. So you'll want to get those according to whatever floor joist you're working with. Now the framework is completely done. Obviously I didn't have posts come up through the deck for railing, because there's no railing on this project, because it's getting the outdoor kitchen and countertops and knee wall on this other section, which you've seen. That's why there's no railing at all. If you're doing a deck not like this and it's just an open deck with railing, when you do your posts, I always measure how long they need to be to finish at whatever height I'm doing my railing at, and they'll come up through. That's how I usually do that, but obviously I didn't do that on this deck. So now we're ready for the floor. I got regular deck boards. I was originally, when I first decided to do this project, I did want to do composite decking and then replace all of the decking on the original deck that was already there with composite. But that was going to end up being way too much money. And it's funny because wood pricing has gone crazy, so deck boards are a whole lot more expensive than they were, but composite here anyway hasn't really gone crazy. They're crazy expensive, but they haven't gotten more crazy expensive like wood has. So I would think about doing that if I were you, because the price difference between wood decking and composite decking are a whole lot smaller than they were, a year or two ago. But I am trying to save money on this project, so I still ended up going with decking, wood decking. And when I put deck boards down on decks, I always use screws. I will take a drill and then an impact driver, and I will pre-drill everywhere where there's going to be a screw, and all the floor joists too, and each board on every single floor joist. Pre-drill all of those and put a screw down. That way I never have to worry about them moving or popping up. And if I'm using a deck board on the top of a rail, I'll always use screws on that. You use screws and you don't ever have to worry about any of the wood when the water comes out of it and it start moving and stuff like that, like you might with if you use nails. So I always use screws. So I did all of the deck boards on the top, and then went to the next level, did all the deck boards there, and then did all the deck boards on the bottom section. And now at this point, the actual deck and floor are completely done. And then I started working on my countertop and outdoor kitchen and everything like that. So be sure to comment all of your thoughts or questions down in the comment section below. I want to hear all of your guys' opinions on how I did this, or if you think I should have done something different or something like that. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section. This video will be the first video on anything to do with this project, but there will be a lot of videos coming down the line sometime in the future. I've had a lot of stuff going on, so my videos haven't been coming out on a regular basis like they usually have, but there are going to be videos on the other stuff as well. So let me know what you thought about this deck, and stay tuned for the other videos I've got coming up on this project. I'll see you guys in the